Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're inside the Coliseum where the 3v3 Grand Arena season is heating up and just getting started. We're doing a little bit of a highlight reel. You guys seem to like the one I did a few weeks ago, so we're going to bring the highlights back. So if you do enjoy them, leave a like, comment down below. If you do enjoy them, I figured not everyone can make the stream, so if we can get the heat packed in a video like this, we got to make sure you guys stay on top of the action and the meta as we dominate it. So our first 3v3 Grand Arena of the season was up against Bison. Bison representing Paw Patrol, coming in at 12.4 million GP. And we are a little bit outdated, Crown, but not as much as usual. So it's as close as you can really get without being too outdated, Crown. Let's take a look at the defense they set up for us. Starting off on the south wall, we have a couple of things. Luckily, no Leia. We had to save the best for last. But on the south wall, we're looking at a Lord Vader split with Lord Vader on his own, a Maul team. I haven't seen too many people Maul on defense with the new Super Commando touch of Gar Saxon, Malicos, Rey, and Sith Eternal. And we started off the 3v3 Grand Arena season with a nice classic Fennec versus Lord Vader. Here's the thing about Lord Vader: when there's no Maul, it is basically a free win here. We didn't even need Beskar Mando. When there's no Maul, you basically don't need Beskar Mando to save the day, so it made things really easy. If Thrawn fractured Fennec, I got Mando's insta-kill. If Thrawn fractured Mando, I have Fennec's massive damage. Very straight, simple. Once we hit the contract, we're able to get rid of Piet, the character I was most concerned about. I didn't want him to hide. Forced the mark on Lord Vader. We knocked him out, knocked out Thrawn, able to blitz down Lord Vader. A super simple battle. Just a reminder, I get the prediction you're stuck in, or the predicament you're stuck in. You want to use Maul, but if you don't have Maul Lord Vader, it just turns out to be a character you don't really know what to do with. Basically, I think this is the easiest battle that we had of the day. Fennec coming up on top, kicking Lord Vader in the nuts for a nice, solid win. Next up, we had Nest versus Maldalorians. So we know Maldalorians with the new Super Commando Gar Saxon touch is a great powerhouse counter for things like Jedi Master Kenobi, but I haven't seen many people put it on defense, not even myself. I feel like I'm obliged to keep Maul on the Lord Vader team. Well, I was a bit worried about this team at first. I almost overkilled it, but in the end, I decided to really roll the dice after some gentle motivation from the Kyber Club community and decided to get really dicey with Kira, Nest, and Beskar Mando did a whole lot of nothing here. Letting Nest basically ramp up Maul. All the attacks on the turns really can't get through Nest. So basically, we just have to rely on Emphas Nest ramping up her offense with all the stuff going on the field. And eventually, by the hairs of her chinny chin chin, she's able to start smacking out Maul. And then once Maul was dead, it was off to the races, picking off Super Commando, picking up Gar Saxon. Again, I wasn't expecting this to work. It worked out very well. I thought I was going to time out. We were close, but we came up on top with a nice win for Emphas Nest, which paid off huge. The real boogeyman on this south wall was Rey. So we took on Supreme Leader Kylo Ren versus Rey. Unfortunately, Starkiller's win rates are abysmal this season. With the Datacron providing tons of defense and ramping defense for Rey, it's about a 20% chance Starkiller can pull it off. Not a good feeling, so it almost feels like you gotta kind of throw a Galactic Legend. So we threw on the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Gets the job done, you know, not a lot of banners, but at least I was able to maintain as many brain cells as possible before we got deeper into this Grand Arena. Quick and simple, basically getting the ultimate charge and making sure we time it out perfectly. When Rey does the ultimate, when Kylo's all by himself, we got to make sure we're fully ultimate charged, hop into ultimate so the Rey does not nuke us out. And once we got through that Rey ultimate, we were good to go. Nothing too much to worry about. Supreme Leader Kylo coming up on top with the dunk. Dr. Aphra versus Sith Eternal Emperor. Good old Dr. Aphra, new to this season of Grand Arena, is going to be the new Scoundrel-based Datacron. Scoundrels and Tuskens getting some love in here. Dr. Aphra has her Datacron back from a year ago where she can keep resetting her cooldowns, getting on in there, and get double cooldown increases, really slowing the roll for Sith Eternal. Malik, mild concern per usual, always likes to be a little annoying, but once we got the cooldown increases, we were able to nuke out the team very quickly. You don't need the Datacron to beat Sith Eternal, but of course, it makes life a little bit easier. Big damage coming from the crew. Synthatiger took way too long to get his link on because of the constant cooldown increases. And the nice thing is, when he would kill off one of the link members, I'd just bring him right back with the revive. I love when Dr. F can get me a nice, good Galactic Legend smackdown, and she gave a big spanking here. So we saved Terran Malicos for last. Darth Traya versus Terran Malicos. We decided to mix it up a little bit. Traya versus Malicos. Malicos is a nasty character. He is almost a Galactic Legend style team inside a Grand Arena. When he has those Omicrons on, there aren't a lot of off-meta ways to handle him except something like Darth Revan or, for example, Darth Malgus. But we took an element of that, bringing in Darth Malik, which is really what I believe makes the counter to Malicos manageable, because Malicos, he is a sucker for fear. Pretty crazy. He keeps getting fear off Malik, and he doesn't really do much. And luckily, able to pop the insta-kill, knock him out. Got a little dicey, though. We were worried about Sirjun soloing the rest of the team. She did take out Traya. Luckily, not Nihilus. Nihilus was the more important member. We were able to use Nihilus to insta-kill the rest of the folks out. This felt a little bit better than doing Traya Savage, mainly because we have the fear. And really, as we saw, Malicos, the only fear he had to fear was literally, I'm not even kidding, literally fear itself. Nice win by Traya, and that breaks us up to the back wall. So we get to the back wall. The main threat that we see back here was Reva. Kinda sucks we had to use Traya. Traya would have been a nice way of handling Reva, but it's fine. We have other ways of sort of getting through Reva. But this is where we started turning our head towards the north side. And let's just say all good things come to an end. And that was that opening play we had, which were amazing. All of a sudden we got to Leia and things got annoying. I probably severely underestimated this team. I assumed without Drogon, we would be fine. Our opponent did another split. Maul and Drogon are oddly enough similar in a way where I assume Drogon amplified Leia like Maul amplified Lord Vader. Boy, was that far from the truth. Apparently, Leia doesn't really need Drogon in 3v3 to be an absolute menace. I decided since there's no Drogon, I would take a stab with Jedi Master Luke versus Leia. Now, Master Luke in 5v5, very solid counter. However, inside of 3v3, we see Master Luke cannot reciprocate the same success. We're on average against Leia, he's at 24% chance of winning. Not great, unlike the Grand Arena 5v5 aspect. But again, this was a limited data, limited testing. I never saw Leia without Drogon, so I figured this might be easier. It was not even close. It started off okay. We were able to get the protection off Leia, but then quickly R2-D2 got the stealth over and things got messy very quickly. So it makes me wonder, maybe Mace Windu was a better play, but then again, you would get stuck behind Old Ben. And if you're not blitzing down Leia, you're in for a world of pain, and it takes a whole team of 5 to get through Leia is tough already. Only 3 getting through Leia, even worse. So not even close. We had to back out, taking our first massive L to the face. So we said, hey, I got another Galactic Legend, so let's give Sith Eternal Emperor versus Leia a shot at the action. Oh, this was frustrating, my friends. Very, very frustrating. We had Wat Tambor. We got the tank tech over, which I thought was going to be helpful because ability blocks were going to come our way because of Ben. And I had armor have the 3 stacks to Sith Eternal. It couldn't get as better as that. And unfortunately, it just was not enough. It was tough to kind of link the characters we wanted because of the taunt and all the stealth going on, unfortunately. But we hit the ultimate, and we were literally 1 turn away from popping it and deleting Ben and R2. But right at the very last moment, they were able to eke just a little bit more damage to knock him dead. The biggest problem with this, really, that protection disruption is absolutely painful for Sith Eternal. It was worth a shot on average. Sith Eternal is about a 17% win rate against Leia. I was hoping at the minimum taking out a few characters, didn't even get there. So again, taking another L. Now we're gonna talk about lessons to learn from this Grand Arena at the end, but I went even further. I was fueled by hatred. I was at the edge of madness and decided to bust out Reva versus Leia. Again, hoping I could pick apart this Leia team, but again, barely a scratch. The death mark just wasn't really popping off. When Drogon was on the team, the death mark was a lot easier because Drogon would open up and do a mass swarm attack and quickly get death mark. Not here. This was not a great lineup for Reva, and unfortunately didn't even get a single character out. And at this point, I threw in the towel and said, yeah, we're out of fuel for Leia. So we decided to take a break, abandon the north, and let's go on the south and make sure we get the south side. Because as you know, in 3v3, if you can get the south, you basically lock in the win. Because if your opponent can't, you're going to have more banners. So we needed a much needed confidence booster after Leia had us licking our wounds on the way back to the south side. So we decided to pull out General Veers versus Zori. A little sketchy. I almost forgot to check Zori's speed. Well, in fact, I forgot to check Zori's speed. Luckily, though, Piet was able to be faster than Zori and Resistance Hero Finn, allowing us to open up with our opening play. It got a little hairy. You know, you get a little worried. Once the Zori team tries to make a counterattack and they start trying to roll, you start clenching the seed a little bit harder. But luckily, at the end of the day, it took a lot of fist power with our Dark Trooper to finally get through the Zori. But at the end of the day, it was overall okay. Nothing too much to fret about. Building up that confidence as we keep chipping away through this south wall. A nice win for General Veers. The Bad Batch versus Qui-Gon Jinn. Mildly frustrating here, but, you know, Bad Batch versus Qui-Gon, generally an all right counter. The problem is in 3v3, it's a lot dicier than 5v5 because you can't have Wrecker on the team or you're missing out on somebody. Bad Batch is kind of a 50-50 counter, 50% chance it'll win, 50% chance it'll lose. I think we did as well as we could. We're able to open up, get the stun on the characters. Unfortunately, Anakin came out of stun a little too quickly than I would like. So we had to kind of adapt. We were able to pass the turn from Hunter over to Echo, and we had to target Anakin. We were luckily able to increase his cooldowns, blitz down to Qui-Gon, allowing us to make sure Anakin could not use his AoE to nuke us out. But this is when we started losing people. Anakin came in with his basic ability, took out the Hunter. We're able to get rid of Anakin, and unfortunately, Ki-Adi-Mundi, the epic troll that he is, took out the rest of the team. So stupid, but you know, it's an easy cleanup, or you would think. Speaking of Qui-Gon, we decided to do a little spin at Qui-Gon versus Reva. Now, this was a really dumb thing, but I was hoping for some miracle to happen. We had a Reva, we had no Galactic Legends, no amazing way to really one-shot her. So I was hoping I could maybe nuke out by chance the Grand Inquisitor. Unfortunately, they played this very well. My hope was they were going to kill someone off right away or maybe hit a threshold, but they pretty much went all in on Anakin very quickly. Not able to get a single kill off, so this is when things got a little scary. So the Inquisitors gave me a fat dunk here. But luckily, we had a nice backup in the back pocket, and that's Captain Rex versus Reva, Part 2. I sometimes forget I have this team on me. I was about to throw General Anakin Skywalker. I'm like, wait, I think this is going to be a lot better. Captain Rex 3v3 with his older variant, Captain Rex, is a soft-ish counter to the Inquisitors. Now we have no more Datacron for Captain Rex and the crew, but we still have the Omicron, which was able to get what we needed. I think I misplayed this a little bit. Luckily, the Captain Rex and the crew were able to yank off Grand Inquisitor on the team. But I feel like I was a little too conservative here. You'll notice I didn't use aerial advantage multiple times on Reva because it doesn't have the same effect on Reva like it does on Grand Inquisitor. And I was really hoping I could set myself up to kill off the 7th sister. In hindsight, watching the battle, I wish I would have just kept using aerial advantage on Reva because I almost completely destroyed her. And I feel like if I would have used the aerial advantage 1 or 2 more times, I probably would have had Reva dead and could have pulled off a win here. Nonetheless, being able to pull out the Grand Inquisitor left us in a situation where we were able to maybe get through this. So a loss, but kind of a win. Quick fast forward, no need for introductions here. Decided maybe I can get General Grievous to maybe kill off 7th Sister for an easy cleanup. Unfortunately, Grievous could not get the job done. Worth a try, but unfortunately, the team was way too durable, likely because of the stacking defense that the Reva team has. So unfortunately, not gonna work. But what did end up working for us was General Skywalker versus Reva, Part 4. So we already used Captain Rex and Rex. So that means we have these leftover 501st members, and luckily, anti-revive on top of that. Anti-revive the Reva. That was a lame joke. But anyways, pretty straight and simple. Luckily, all the buffs on the Reva team through the Datacron on that level 3, providing the offense up, the crit damage up, the crit chance up, was able to feed General Anakin Skywalker's offense ramping mechanism. So luckily we're able to get in there, get Reva down, and this put us in sight, securing the south wall. But we still had a few more things to do before we can get a little comfy. Mother Talzin versus Sana Starros. Next up on the list was Sana Starros. It had some interesting stuff with Hondo as well as Nest. Kind of a lot of anti-cheese things, so probably wouldn't feel good using Wampa. Probably wouldn't feel good if I had Imperial Troopers using them here or Hux. Nice and simple, since there wasn't any Jabba, we get to use Night Sisters. We sometimes forget Night Sisters They've been primarily being used for the piece apart of Jabba, but they beat so many teams on the offensive side. Nothing really too much to worry about here. The Plagues do their job. Ness was barely an inconvenience. Yeah, her bonus protection completely ignored by the Plague and Night Sisters. Overall, pretty easy battle coming up on top with some decent banners. Admiral Stench versus Shorty. I was getting a little flustered at this point because I didn't want to use a good team against Shorty, right? And I've been just frustrated about how I haven't been able to use Trench to really any legitimate capacity. And I felt like a Conquest character at the minimum should be able to beat a Shorty. So luckily, Trench came in, we got him off the bench, and he did a thing by being able to beat a middle-of-the-road type of team with Dooku and Newt Gunray. No major concerns. We had to watch out for the ability block that Shorty had on her Datacron. With all the shocks, the extortion, we were able to really control this team and really get across the finish line. So you know what? Good on Trench for doing something mildly useful and getting a nice solid win. And then we came back to the Ki-Adi-Mundi solo, and shame on me for trying to save Bosk. I decided, hey, you know what? I'll bring in my other favorite Conquest unit, Boba Fett, Sign of Jango, and a couple of the bounty hunters. They should easily handle a Ki-Adi-Mundi. Wrong! Getting absolutely decimated, and through my rage, I just threw my Bosk at it. So losing unnecessary banners on a stupid cleanup. Thanks a lot, Boba Fett, Sign of Jango. You're still trash. But all right, we got the south wall secured, which skyrockets our chances of victory. But then we had to turn our attention back on the north. You know, we have a lot of work ahead of us. At this point, on the north wall, we already kind of figured, you know, we're not going to get through Leia, but maybe we can still redeem ourselves by getting a couple banners, trying to increase the lead we have from securing that south wall. So first thing we did was bring out Cal Kestis versus Darth Malgus. Bread and butter 101. The ultimate counter to Darth Malgus is Cal Kestis. Such a cheap way of handling Darth Malgus. Bastila Shan lead, whatever Jedi got left over. Mace Windu in this circumstance, and bring in Cal. No more Cal Datacron, but he doesn't need it to beat Darth Malgus. Still, without any struggle, get to the ultimate on Cal, hit that cross guard stance, nuke out Malgus, and pretty much from there on out, very straight and simple. I decided to use Mace Windu here. I figured the Shatter Point will be helpful when I had to work on Bastila Shan and Darth Revan. Not even a single moment of concern here. I love my Cal Kestis. He does some wonders for me. So, continuing the theme that Rebels are ruining my day, we have a Commander Luke. So we decided to bring out Savage Opress versus Commander Luke Skywalker. Now, in a Datacronless world, Savage can take on a Commander Luke Skywalker team. However, there's a problem here. It's got freaking Drogon here. Drogon not being used on Leia was used here. It paid off. Drogon was not needed to really dunk on me with the Leia team. So they brought in Drogon with all the keen stratagem, the damage reduction that the Datacron offers. I mean, on paper, what I brought was nice, but the problem is with the damage reduction on the opposing team and the protection recovery from keen stratagem and whatnot, it just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. So we ultimately timed out, but I think in a world where there was no Datacrons, this would have won, but unfortunately, didn't make a dent on the team. Massive disappointment. But hey, let's give Padme versus Commander Luke Skywalker, the old college try. This just went absolutely terribly, horribly. Drogon starts off with a bonus turn. I was worried he was going to stun Gideon, but no. Instead, he proceeds to just completely decimate the rest of my team. They got buff immunity to my shock team. When Gideon finally got a turn, well, he couldn't do anything. When you have buff immunity on the shock T, you can't get the whole cheese. So unfortunately, this was just a massive loss. Drogon being to open up is like a Han Solo on roids, basically. Not fun. Another fat loss here. But I absolutely lost it when I had to use Starkiller versus Commander Luke. I don't even know what to say. I don't want any commentary. I'm just salty as hell on this. Drogon opens up, nearly turn one insta kills my Starkiller. There was just no way of redeeming this. I decided to try to maybe get a stun. Didn't land it. Don't think it would have mattered what I did. They just completely nuked apart my team. Very disappointed. I'm having a hard time finding a decent use out of Starkiller this Grand Arena season with this Datacron. I felt like this should have been something easy to do. But again, Drogon opening up with that mass swarm, that is quite a deadly play. So unfortunately, hate to spoil it, we abandoned Commander Luke Skywalker as well as Leia. But we haven't given up hope yet. The march continues on with Radis versus Tusken Chieftain. Tuskens are getting love with this Datacron set. Basically, the most important thing is one, they get a lot more momentum. They also basically prevent revives on Tusken Warrior, which was fun with my Radis versus Tuskens, and normally an all right counter up against Tuskens. It turned out to be a little dicey here. I got a little peeved when Tusken Warrior decided to nuke out my Scareful Pathfinder, and oops, no no revive for you with the Datacron, but luckily Radis, Jin, able to get in there, hit the Radis ultimate, and at least we're able to kill off Tusken Warrior, but didn't really have enough to finish off the Tusken Chieftain, getting stuck behind the Tusken Raider cheese. Unfortunate, but don't worry, we got some options here. Next up, we quickly just brought in a Jango Fett cleanup to try to get rid of Tusken Raider, prevent the revive. We got what we needed, which ultimately led us to just bringing in a couple of Night Sisters and getting a nice cleanup on Tusken Chieftain. Again, every single team we can knock out the North, the better our chances are of winning. And unfortunately, we wrap up with literally the rest of my brain cells versus Radis. I'm just gonna spare you every single one of these battles. We tried Mon Mothma, didn't work. We tried things like the Mandalorians, almost killed off Scarifel Pathfinder, but they kept reviving him. Must be nice. We tried Geonosians, we tried Shorty and some droids. We even tried bringing out Garsax and Imperial Super Commando, which almost did something. Super Commando did a lot of work, but ultimately not enough to get a kill. Saw Gerrera did a whole lot of nothing. Wookiees getting nuked. The ability block on this Datacron for Radis was really annoying to deal with. And ultimately, we just ran out of steam. So we ended up leaving it with 3 Rebel teams practically damaged. Was that going to be enough for us to win the Grand Arena? Well, let's hop on over and find out. And the final score between Arnold T101 versus Bison was 1,097 versus 1,031, leading us to a sweaty victory for the amazing Kyber Club. Boy, this was, it was pretty sketchy. Again, Leia has been causing so many complications. I really feel like we were lied to in a way regarding how good Leia was. It's a good thing, I guess, that they undersold her and she's over-delivering, but man, this is by far the most annoying galactic we have to deal with. Maybe it's because of the Datacron, but again, she didn't even have her ideal Datacron of Drogon, and she's still kicking butt. What did our opponent have, though? Our opponent actually started off on the North Wall, which gave me some hints that maybe they were a bit scared about the South. Able to one-shot my Tuskens, having to 3-tap Malicos, one-shotting my Leia, Han, Chewie, one-shotting Malgus, and one-shotting Zori Resistance. They then proceeded over to the back wall. Here we see Executor took a 2-shot, Radis and Leviathan taking a 1-shot each. But the South side has much more points than the North side in 3v3, so that means they were still short on quite a bit of points. Basically, all my opponent had to do was take out 4 Galactic Legends on the South Wall, and it wasn't quite the easy task for them. They started off strong, one-shotting Jabba, one-shotting the Rey, but then the steam started to die down. They couldn't get through the Leia, they couldn't get through my Kenobi, and they couldn't even get through Lord Vader. Luckily, the heavy defensive wall in the South kept our win. Again, the primary strategy that I utilized: hunker down the South, try to stop them, crack through their South wall, and my chance of winning just skyrocketed. There's always a lesson to be learned through defeat and success in life, but also in Grand Arena. The biggest thing I wish I would have done in hindsight, when I kind of saw the Leia thing wasn't going well, I wish I would have just cut my losses and saved things like, for example, maybe Sith Eternal, maybe my Inquisitors. For sure, I should have saved the Inquisitors, because that would have maybe enabled me to have that one extra team to maybe beat another team. So sometimes you gotta get laser focused, let go of the rage, and just kind of take a breather and see how to evaluate yourself moving forward into Grand Arena. But luckily, even with that one mistake, we still got a win, and a win's a win at the end of the day. And that's going to wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I hope you do enjoy these Grand Arena highlights. I'll keep making them if you guys enjoy them. I think it's a great way to supplement the action we have in a Grand Arena stream, but make sure you guys see it as well for those of the future and in the past who couldn't make it out for the live heat. Leave that like, comment down below, subscribe so you're not missing a thing, and always remember how it's great to be in the Empire today.
It's great to be in the Empire today. The sun never sets.